Mine has been a life of much shame. Can't even guess myself what it must be to live a life of human being, no longer human. Story remains as one of the best classic Japanese literary pieces. It revolves around a kid named Yozo. The character is roughly based on author's life experiences. Osamu Dazai was born and raised in an affluent family. His father was in the parliament. He is known for his novels, which dive deep into the human mind. And there remains a sense of sadness throughout the story. Daza himself was an alcoholic, addict, womanizer, and these qualities are well reflected in Yozo as well. Osamu Dazai's real name was Suji Shushima. One particularly popular incident regarding Osamu is the one that caused his death. He jumped into the canal near his house along with his lover. And around 6 days later, their bodies were found, the day which would have been his 39th birthday. This is a semi-autobiography, and the MC Yozo reflects many of the author's experiences. Osamu completed the last draft for No Longer Human before jumping into the canal. The feeling of isolation and horror of other human beings, sense of not belonging to this place is deeply ingrained in Yozo. I think this is one of those stories which actually managed to grasp what true depression actually is. Yozo's misery doesn't really originate from any specific canon event, but rather it is an amalgamation of multiple incidents and combined with his mental faculty. Not being able to understand humans, he resorted to playing the clown in order to fit in the society in his peers. But even this didn't bring him any happiness or relief. He lived in a constant fear that one day or another humans will find out that he had been deceiving them, and he feared the consequences which will follow. Quote, before anyone realized it, I had become an accomplished clown, a child who never spoke a single truthful word. This feeling of not understanding humans has been deeply discussed in the book. It is so conversational that it is almost soothing, but at the same time is confusing, sad, and rather miserable. Quote, people talk of social outcasts. The words apparently denote the miserable losers of the world, vicious ones. But I feel as though I have been a social outcast from the moment I was born. MC's life, too, has been nothing short of tragedy. Born as the youngest son in the family, his father's presence always felt oppressive to him. He was violated by the servants in the house. He wasn't very expressive either. He resorted to his clowning to deal with people, eventually grew submissive to substance abuse, and eventually ended up in a mental asylum. In between, he made one friend. You can call it friendship, that is. Again, I would like to quote from the book. Uriki and myself, despising each other as we did, we were constantly together, thereby degrading ourselves. That's what the world calls friendship. The relation between Horiki and myself was undoubtedly that of friendship. His destructive and submissive tendencies developed over the years, to the extent that he could do nothing when his wife was being violated. He couldn't say no to anything. Once again, I would like to quote, I wonder if in the end I would not be argued into silence by someone in the good graces of the world, by the excuses of which the world approved. It is only too obvious that favoritism exists. It would have been useless to complain to human beings, so I said nothing of truth. He was born in the northern part of Japan. He was moved to Tokyo for his higher studies. His father wanted him to be a civil servant, but he was more interested in art school. And he did join an art school later. One of his schoolmates from his childhood had predicted that he would become a great painter and ladies would follow him. But Yozo calls these predictions sinister prophecies. As the destiny had it, he fell into the life of liquor prostitutes and some leftist parties. At the bar in Ginza, met Suneko, and it won't be wrong to say that she was the very first person around whom Yozo felt at ease, felt no need to act to lower his guard. It was with her that he tried to commit suicide. But the wave of life once again washed away his plans. Both of them threw themselves into the Kamakura Sea at night. She died, but he was saved. After the incident, he was sent to one of his father's acquaintances, whom he calls Flatfish. Once again, he had hit rock bottom. He had to bear the loss of losing his lover, which threw him into narcotics once again. The first prophecy had certainly turned out to be true. The other one had failed, materialized. The one about being a great painter. Best was a third-rate comic artist, and in times of dire need, he used to copy porn magazines to earn at least. He made children comics for a lady publisher. Shizuko was her name. He had a daughter named Shigeko. Yozo's relations with his family were broken, and he lived with Shizuko as her husband. The publishing firm wasn't very big, but Yozo's comics made a surprising amount of money, at least enough for him to go out and drink. By this time, even Shigeko, his daughter, had started calling him daddy without hesitation. He could see the hopes of living a better life, but they were soon crushed one day when he was casually talking with his daughter. His daughter asks, "Is it true that God will grant anything if you pray for it?" Rosa replies, "Yes, I'm sure he will grant you anything, but I do not think I stand a chance." Shigeko, "What would you like, God?" Replies back, "I would like my real dad back." He was shaken down to his core, felt dizzy from the shock alone. He realized that his presence and actions might end up destroying them both. After spending almost a year together, he turned to Ginza. He never came back to that apartment again. One last time, life showed him hope in form of Yoshiko, a girl who worked in a shop across the Kyobashi bar, where Yozo had been spending his days drinking liquor, spending time with customers, and discussing theories of art. Yoshiko was the one who pursued Yozo to quit drinking. He calls her a genius in trusting people, maiden with whom he could live. He gave up on drinking and devoted his time to drawing comics. He thought about going on bicycles to watch waterfalls. However, everything came crashing down when he saw his own wife being violated. This was the final nail in the coffin. What he felt there was not anger, sadness, or hatred. It was a deep fear that couldn't be described in words. All hopes were lost. He began to question and doubt everything. He was dragged into the spiral of hell, immersed himself, again sleeping pills, morphine, and eventually attempted another suicide only to survive once again. His father had died around the same time as well. His brothers took care of his finance and sent him to countryside, where he lived with an old servant. In the end, he doesn't know what really humans are. Is truthfulness a sin? Where does he belong to? Once branded as a madman, now he lays there and everything passes. He has nothing, neither joy nor sorrow, no sense of misery or happiness. Once he was burning in the scorching flames of hell, but now even those flames have settled down and everything passes. Quote, even if released, he would forever be branded. the forehead, the word madman, or perhaps reject, disqualified as a human being. I had now ceased to be a human being.